So welcome, Wigan Region. Excited to go over the Recare training with you guys today. This comes at just a really great time. You guys have been hearing about Recare in the last couple weeks as we rolled out our Q2 incentive, so our Practice of Excellence incentive. And so we just wanted to take the time to make sure that we could refocus on Recare. Just not only having new additions to our PMO team, we've been growing rapidly, but our team members in the offices. So getting this information to you first, and then having you go back and sharing it with your team. We've also had new doctors added. So think about our new doctors and going back and being able to share with them the Recare system and what our expectations are. So that's why we're having the call today. With the Practice of Excellence in Q2, we are focusing on Recare effectiveness. I know that Recare goal for Q2 is to hit 100%. And so when we saw that, we're like, wow. But then they gave us the number, the proactive number to hit. So I know that was new for us, that we actually had a proactive number versus a reactive. We saw it on Maps and Trends after the fact. So for us giving us the Recare opportunity number, how did you like seeing that number? And then what did your team think when they saw that number? I'm gonna ask for a couple shout outs.
They thought that it was definitely achievable, Sarah, and it was just something to look forward to, if that makes sense. So that was their first interaction. Like, oh my gosh, I have a number. We're working towards that. Let's build our board to get towards that goal. So it was encouraging.
Good, great word.
My office was astounded to see our number. It was 596. And we were like, oh my God, because we're down a hygienist and a half of a hygienist. But I love seeing the number because it gave us something to focus on, something to go through, figure out how can we add, exams and what does that truly look like? And, we got our doctors on board with doing a lot more exams than what they were doing and, stuff like that. So it was very helpful to get that number.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Beth. One more, even if your number's not in the 500s like Beth with her practice, but what were some of the numbers that you were given for your office?
Mine was actually still pretty large. Mine's at 420 for Essington. Yeah. And so it does create the conversation though of how often are your doctors doing exams, which here we do every 6 months. And so are they doing an exam each perio maintenance? Are we still doing no charge exams if there's treatment needed? So it creates the conversation of, is there more opportunity, even though, this office does pretty well with it. So.
Beautiful. And I know that's another topic of conversations is some offices, how often they're doing their exams. So I heard Beth that she talked to her doctors, and that's just a conversation. Obviously, we want to hit our Recare number, but what is our policy right now with doing exams? And just an open conversation with your doctors. With that Recare effectiveness, you were given the number. We know we want to hit 100% of that. And then I think that even Jen had mentioned the no charge. So do you guys know what codes are being tracked for the Recare effectiveness? Couple head shakes?
Yes.
So you can, perfect. I think we've heard a lot of it. A lot of it was cleared up about, but just to clarify again, and I'll say it out loud, is that they are using the 0120 and the 0120.1 in the code. So the no charge periodic exam is also counts. So I just wanted to clear that up and make sure that you guys had that written down.
Sarah, I'm sorry, I only had the one code. What was the no charge code for that?
It's the 0.1, so 0120.1. Great. So I know they had a call yesterday asking questions about the Q2 incentive, and the FAQ for the Q2 incentive should be posted on the intranet today if it's not already up there. So please, that's where our tracking is going to be. Make sure that we are accessing the intranet, looking up that Practice of Excellence tracking once it starts coming out, because that's going to be really exciting. Any questions? Okay. All right, so we're going to dig a little deeper into the 6 steps of Recare. I will start sharing my screen, and you'll see it pop to the screen, and if we have conversation, I'll pop back to us as a group here. And then just a reminder, if you are not muted, go ahead and mute your sound. And then I just need one person to unmute and tell me if you can see my Recare screen. Please and thank you. Awesome. All right, so we are going to go through Recare. This is our 6 steps. So the 6 steps of Recare, step 1 is to schedule their next Recare appointment before they leave the office. Step 2 is to send the Recare card 1 month prior to their appointment. Step 3 is to call all hygiene patients without a device 2 weeks prior to their appointment. Step 4, confirm using the confirmation policy. Step 5 is to call all unscheduled patients prior to being due. And then step 6 is to call all past due patients from last month. So this is a great visual. This would be something to be great once you create a Recare binder, or if you have a Recare binder to put on the front, and something to share with your teams. Just a quick, easy visual. But we're going to go through each of these steps to share expectations and then any best practices that we have. So step 1, you guys know your teams are doing this, but have you been able to shadow and listen to your teams as they're making their next Recare appointment? Is that happening in the clinical room? We know some hygienists take this on, or some dental assistants will be like, no, they make their appointment before that patient walks out of the room and gets up to the front desk. Others, they'll schedule them at the front desk. And we have some great VAs doing great things, being able to schedule their next Recare appointment before they leave. And we've heard that over and over. But sometimes we just know that it falls off. And, you know, there was too many people checking in, so we didn't check that patient out and they just walked away. But taking the time to, you know, go ahead and shadow and your team and see where that's happening. Is it happening in the clinical room, or is it happening at the front desk? And then just making sure we have good verbiage to go with that, that the patient schedules it now. Sometimes you'll hear your patients giving that feedback of, you know what, it's 6 months out. I don't know what my schedule is going to be. And, you know, I'll call you. And we know with life and with our experience alone, if you've been in the dental industry for only 3 months, you would know most people aren't going to just call the office and say, hey, I'd like to come in for my professional cleaning. We have to remind them. So this is a great way just to have great verbiage in front of our patients saying, you know, do you want the same date and time? Does this work for your schedule, your work schedule, or your school schedule? Because I can book that right now and I can get you that later evening appointment since we're booking 6 months out. And we'll remind you ahead of time. So if your schedule has changed, we can change that too. So just giving them that simple, this is your reminder. Step 2, sending out Recare cards 1 month prior to patient's appointment. So with this, we have a company that sends our Recare cards. So that's fabulous. We don't physically have to do step 2, but we have to ensure that we're taking the correct steps, that step 2 can happen and they can get the correct card. So later in the PowerPoint, I will show you examples of what those Recare cards look like if you haven't seen one recently, or if you're not in your mailing area to receive one. So it gives us those best practices. We have to select yes when prompted to attach Recare. So that box pops up when you're making the appointment and says, do you want to attach Recare? And you always say yes. Then the unscheduled list. That's going to be another step a little bit further down when we're cleaning up the unscheduled list. If you have more than 2 weeks worth of patients on the unscheduled list, you're almost guaranteed that your patients are either going to get multiple Recare cards or no Recare cards at all. And that's going to either confuse your patient or not do what it's meant to do. Then we want to attach all Recare patients with only one Recare date attached to prophy, perio, or screening. So our de novo practices, our startup practices, it's beautiful because those are the only options they have in their Recare is to attach those. For some of our existing practices, though, we have added, you'll see ortho, you'll see endo, sometimes comp exam or x-rays. And that's just something that office individually added. But that does not send a Recare card, and we don't want that attached to our patient's continuing care in the family file. So remember those three, prophy, perio, or screening should be the only thing listed in the family file box for continuing care. One of those three. Number three, step 3 is to call all hygiene patients without a device 2 weeks prior to the appointment to confirm that they received their Recare card. And it makes it really easy to know that this is not a confirmation. We do not want to confirm our patients 2 weeks out. We know that doesn't work just with things change day to day. So 2 weeks out, we're making a phone call. Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is Sarah from Heartland Dental. I wanted to ensure that you received your Recare card in the mail that had the date and time of your upcoming appointment. Does that time still work for you? If they say yes, great. We will give you a reminder 2 days before your appointment. So if anything changes. The 2-week call you can also use of, do you have any concerns? Has anything happened in the last 6 months that you want to talk to doctor about? Have you updated insurance? Especially here in the first quarter, second quarter, insurances can change. So have you updated insurance? Can I get that from you right now? So many things that you can build into this call that it's not just, did you receive your Recare card?
And Sarah, that's where I was thinking great time to like close snow in the schedule, make adjustments so it flows well. You know, Mrs. Jones, I want your appointment to go really well. You know, would it work to have you come in 10 minutes sooner so that just we'd be able to get you in and out on that time? Like whatever that verbiage is, but great time to just close in what we call that snow. Make sure your schedule can be efficient.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of the 2-week call is to, if we can move someone or edit that time right there, that's going to build your schedule right now, 2 weeks in advance, than waiting for that 3-day call or 2-day call, sorry. Thank you. And then just a reminder that a 2-week call is not necessary for doctor patients since they probably recently made their appointment, not just over 6 months ago. Any questions on those 3 steps?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've always been told or trained that the hygienists are expected to do 2-week calls, but are you saying that the expectation is for BAs to do it generally?
Alex, you'll see this differ in offices. Some hygiene patients take that on and they love it. They want to talk to their patients. They know them, they know their families, so they feel they get a better response when they call or have to leave a message. But it does fall back onto our business team. And right now with the communication we've had with our hygiene dinners, that we should have a BA dedicated to the hygiene schedule. That would be the BA that would be confirming, or not confirming, but calling our 2-week patients in that hygiene schedule. Does that help?
Okay. Yep.
Great. Thanks for asking. Here real quick.
Yeah, and there's a comment that just come up that said at the dinner the hygienists were given great verbiage. I think to elaborate a little deeper into what Sarah said, it literally comes down to, yes, if hygiene does it and that's the expectation in your office, that's fine, but it falls back on and someone must do it. And so that final last step is that BA is the final check because it must be done. So if the hygienist didn't get to it or fell off their plate, it still needs to be done by the office regardless, no excuses type thing. So I think that's just what we're trying to explain. Your office setup can be, and the expectations within your office can be your own expectations.
Thank you, Jana. I'll go back to sharing my screen. Just holler if you can't see it. I think you guys have that now. So step 4 is confirming our patients following the Heartland's confirmation policy. With this, teaching this to our business team members over the last few years, we always heard a little bit of feedback on this information, just needing clarification. And so that's what this is. So 3 days out, Smile Reminder is what the old name is, Solution Reach is what it is now, is going to send out a confirmation email or text message, all patients that have a device. So if it's loaded into their family file, a cell phone number or an email, and they've not disabled it in Solution Reach, they will receive the 3-day reminder. And this is going to ask them to confirm their appointment. We also have something called Solution Reach Voice, and Voice would also send a message to anybody with only a home number. So with that, Solution Reach knows if it's a cell phone number and knows if it's a landline. So that is a clarification that we heard a lot of. People would try to hide a cell phone number by putting it in the home number like it was a landline, thinking that that patient would not receive a text message if we put it in the home box. That is incorrect. Solution Reach can tell by the phone number alone, wherever you put it in those boxes, if it's a cell phone or if it's a landline. And so that's how it will send the message. So if you have someone that is receiving a text and say, hey, I don't want to receive a text, you have to go into Solution Reach and disable that number. And then using Solution Reach, it reflects within minute to minute who has confirmed. So just a friendly reminder to our PMOs, making sure that our offices are logging into Solution Reach every day, because we're making confirmation calls every day. Log in, and there's a filter, and all they have to look at is who's confirmed, and then they make calls to whoever is unconfirmed for this 2 days. So that's the next step. So 2 days, our office is going to contact any patient that does not have a device and needs to confirm their appointment. So we want to call those patients that have not confirmed. Again, it's a really easy view on Solution Reach. Use the filter of unconfirmed, and those are the patients you call. Here, I also want to point out is our open treatment report. And so I'm going to pull this down for a minute so we can talk through the open treatment report. Open treatment report has been discussed over the last few weeks, and this is something that we wanted to make sure you guys knew the opportunity of. The open treatment report can be pulled by day. You don't have to pull the whole month of the open treatment report. That actually will work against you because it won't be accurate as of just pulling one day. So say I'm going to make my 3-day calls, and I'm going to call for my Tuesday patients or my Wednesday patients next week. I would only have to pull the open patient or open treatment report for that day. And then I'm prepping for my call. Which patients that are on my schedule that I need to confirm are on that list. And so it's that easy, flowing conversation of, hey, Kathy, this is Sarah. I'm calling to let you know we are looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Your appointment's at 3 p.m. with our hygienist, Lisa. Will you be here? And Kathy says, yes, I'm looking forward to seeing Lisa. Great. You know what, Kathy? I also noticed that you had that one filling we weren't able to get done last time you were here. Would you be open to staying with doctor and getting that done the same day? Does your schedule allow that? And that she may say yes, she may say no, she may say, I'll let you know that day. But it's just an easy conversation like that. Okay, and that's how we can utilize that open treatment report for that day. You can also utilize it during your 2-week calls, depending on which patients you get a hold of. Any questions on the open treatment report? Because that's newer to some of our offices. Some haven't used it. Feel free to ask questions. Your client administrators, they are experts with that report. So if you have questions, your CA would be happy to help you with that or share any details or verbiage. Beautiful. All right, go back to sharing my screen. So confirmations, extremely important. Those should not be falling off of our list. Before you leave at the end of the day, we should have those patients confirmed. So the one day is not for the office to do, but the one day in advance, I'm sorry, I lied. The one day is the office will contact any patient that's not confirmed. That's making sure that everybody's confirmed before you leave at the end of the day. No matter if they've received the 2-week, the 3-day, all of those text messages, maybe they're receiving emails and they received your voicemail yesterday, you are calling them again. It is so extremely important for our offices to have a confirmed schedule. So that means trying all numbers. Don't just try the first number. What other numbers did they share with us? We want to reach them. And then 1 hour prior to their appointment, Solution Reach is going to send them a text. It's going to say that their appointment is at this date and time in 1 hour. So they will receive that on their phone. That is step 4, confirmations. And this is our policy. It's not a guideline. Just pointing that back out. For our systems that we have in Heartland, we don't have many policies. We have quite a few guidelines. This is one of our very few policies that we have. So step 5, for the patient that did not make their Recare appointment, we're going to call from the continuing care report found in Dentrix prior to being due. This is so nice. This makes you look like a rock star. For you to call a patient and say, hey, you know what, Jen? I noticed that we failed to schedule your appointment before you left last time, and you are due in the next 2 weeks. I want to make sure we keep you on track with your professional cleaning. I have an appointment here next week, and making sure that that works for them. But they're going to be like, oh my goodness, thank you. You're staying on top of it. For anybody that's overdue, so number 6, calling all past due patients from the overdue report, that's going to be with a lot more urgency. Because they might be 1 month overdue, they could be a year overdue, but we want to get them back in. And it's important because these are the patients that they are waiting for your call, to be honest. They might have a fear of the dentist, they might just be super busy, but when they get that call, most likely they're going to return the call to you and be like, you know what, I was thinking I need to do that, so I can come in now.
Sarah, I would love to jump in. I love how you had said, calling their all the numbers that they've shared with us. I'd love to challenge the PMOs is to, when we're doing some of the patient care reviews together, is check all devices. When Dentrix is only going to work is good for us for as much as we feed it. So many times I do find that we have one number in there, and then when I look on the forms, we've been provided with, a home, a work, a cell, and an email, and we just didn't get it into Dentrix. So that's just a little tip and trick.
Accuracy with what's on that patient registration to what's in Dentrix, that's a huge opportunity. Thank you, Kathy. Any other thoughts? So one of the big points that I want to make today, other than making sure that we're following our confirmation policy, that is a big opportunity. Trust but verify. We do a lot with our BA team is, yeah, they're making confirmation calls, but are we doing the entire policy? So just going back and checking that. That's a great opportunity for you. Great coaching opportunity as well. I want to dig farther into our continuing care reports that are 5 and 6. So I'm going to share the screen with you on some directions of where we find this. So at the top of my screen, this is the icon. So I would have everybody shout out how many of you guys have clicked on this lately. But this icon right here, you will find on the appointment book only. And it looks like a calendar, and then it has a recycle symbol. That's our Recare Continuing Care Reports button. So great, like pop quiz for your team if you want to see who knows what that icon looks like. So that is the icon that you would log into to print your reports for 5 and 6. there is directions. This was pulled directly from our Recare module on how to print the continuing care report. And it's having you select a temporary view, so it doesn't save that view. You type in your temporary view, and then next time you can go and pick a different date range, and it doesn't save any of that information. So it gives you all the directions right here of what it looks like, making sure that we select all. Now, when we select all under type, it's gonna, for our existing offices that still have that endo, ortho, comp exam, those ones that we don't use anymore, it's gonna pull all of those into this report. So if you want a cleaner report, I would ask you just to run prophy, just to run perio, and then just to run overdue. So it'd be 3 separate reports. You put in your date range and then your bill type. This will then pull that continuing care report for you. Best practice, I wrote it on here, and we'll be sharing these setup instructions with you, is that we set up the view. So when we went into continuing care, we didn't do a temporary view. We set up these 3 reports for specific to always pull the same range of dates. So not like a date range, not January through December, but it would go back 90 days to current, and that would be our overdue report. And so we have the setup instructions that we used to set up in Dentrix so that when you went here, you would just pull those reports. You'd push print, and it would print the correct report for you of who was due for prophy appointments, who was due for perio appointments, and who was on your overdue list. So that is one best practice we are going to share with you, because we feel that will make it an easy button and something that anybody in your office could do. Again, having that hygiene coordinator, having that Recare specialist, whatever you want to dedicate their responsibility to, but that one person that can print these out and you know that they're accurate. This is a copy of what the continuing care report looks like. So this is just more of, have you seen this list floating around in your office? Has this list been printed this way? So the continuing care list, it will tell you, what they're due for. So if this was my prophy only list, it'll list prophy, give the name, and then this is their due date. Yes, I know these are very overdue, but this is just training material. But again, it's just opening up John Doe's account, finding what the last time he was there. This one is showing no prior treatment, so maybe it was only a limited exam, and we've never done the comp exam yet. For Jane Doe, she was here on this date. 6 months later, she was due for a prophy on this date, but did not schedule the appointment. So it's a very, very easy report to read and then to call from. So wanting to make sure that we clarified what these reports are, easy parameters that we can set up that you can pull each month, and then what the calls sound like. So again, these are patients that are due for their appointments that you can get really excited that we're staying on track for their appointment, and then the ones that are overdue, just sharing that urgency. So I'm going to bring it back to the PMOs. From this continuing care list, have you guys seen these lists printed in your offices? Would be my first question.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have.
every month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good deal. So then what kind of verbiage do you like hearing when they're calling off of this report? So say they have to leave a message because we're leaving messages for confirming our appointments. How do they know it's different? What kind of verbiage do you guys like hearing your teams use?
So we just kind of reviewed this not too long ago at a previous Thrive, Sarah, and it's more of a, not a call. It's more of, hey, we had missed you call. Hey, this is Rochelle at Woodland Family Dental Care. We miss you. We haven't seen you. Please give me a call back. And then once they get the call back, of course, we go through all the things, the conversations and get them scheduled. And then our team is really good about, like what you said, looking at continuing care, but also doctor's treatment as well. Why not, right? That's what the list is for. But more of a care call.
I like that verbiage. That's awesome. And it sounds different than the confirm. Go for it.
Sorry. This is Lisa in Sycamore. We're actually making calls right now, and I was kind of guiding one of my newer business assistants on that verbiage of always having doctor on your shoulder, and, you know, owning it on our end. Like you said earlier, we failed to make your appointment when you were here last. So we just actually coached on that. So always putting doctor on your shoulder, you know, doctor is looking forward to seeing you. We missed you for your last appointment, you know, if they did have a cancel or something like that. So.
Yeah, even the hygienist names. They, again, using doctors' names, using the hygienist names, the person they last saw, it really makes that personal, and it's not just a cold call. And like Rochelle said, using that word care, it's a care call. And these are great things to suggest and help your BAs use. Any other thoughts, verbiage for these calls?
Hey Sarah, it's Tina. I know I was working this report earlier this week, and I was fortunate that I had patients that had been seen fairly recently with doctor. And so it was easy to go in and say, hey, Dr. Bella wanted me to call and just see how you were doing from your fillings, everything going okay? And hopefully, and most of them said obviously yes. But then just saying, she also noticed that, you know, you were just a little over for your cleaning appointment. She wants to make sure that this same situation doesn't come back up. Can we get you back in to be on that regular schedule? And so it obviously works out very well when you care about them and love them up first and then get them right back in.
And just using that doctor saw that you were overdue. They're like, oh, doctor's looking at my chart. Like, it does bring, again, more importance to it. They look at the doctor different than they look at just that front desk person trying to make them an appointment. And we know they are not just a front desk person. Our business assistants do a lot. Our clinical team do a lot. But it's how the patients perceive it. That's all. Okay. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I'm going to go to the next.
I have one more comment if I can make. Yesterday, I had a light bulb go off. And so obviously knowing Recare is coming and like, you know, just the process and all of that. But we got to speak with Align, and Align's been doing some studies regarding calls, right? So obviously this is their calls, but you have to assume. So one of the things they noticed was generally after a call, usually takes a patient on average 72 hours to call back. So like they've tracked how long it takes to call back. And for those of you that were in, well, I was shocked. Like I was trying to think of, like, I remember having teams and having people and working with people being like, I think we're calling too much. Or we've called these folks too much, or this whole piece, and in that stress of what's too much and what's not and how to stretch out. The magic number of calls before somebody calls back is 3. So it's been studied that it takes 3 phone calls to these people in a consistent manner. So you can't make a phone call and then delay for 6 months and make a next phone call, delay for 6 months and expect them to get back. It literally was 3 consecutive calls to let them know that you cared, triggered them to actually call back. So just want to share that as we're working with our teams and working through that thing. So you guys have verbiage. No, we as a company didn't study this one, but another big company like us, reputable, did do the study, and 3 is the magic call number.
And that's the goal with continuing care. So the way our parameters are set up with continuing care is that we call them when they're due, before they're due, and then we call them twice more on the overdue list. So you are making 3 calls, and then they're going to fall off the list. You're going to have a whole new set of parameters that's going to pick new dates. So it is that 3 calls. And if we have now the opportunity, if we haven't been making those calls, or we start the list and we go A through B, B through, you know, maybe we get through S that month, and we never finish the list, next time, work the list backwards. But make sure that we're going back and that all these patients are getting 3 calls. So the parameters might be set up to only call 3 months ago. If they were overdue, you can pull a temporary list that goes back 6 months. Anybody that hasn't had 3 calls in the last 6 months, then we're adding that call back to them and getting them back to a regular schedule. Great job. So for continuing care to work, for these lists to be accurate, for our Recare cards to be accurate, we have to do some cleanup. And so we get a checklist every month from our client administrators. The offices get it, the admin get it. So I'm going to share what that checklist looks like, and we're going to walk through a couple of those pieces. Can someone holler if you can see my checklist?
It's there.
Thank you. Okay. So the first tooth, most important here, is our continuing care not attached list. This is not a regular continuing care list. This is not the first call list we would go to. Those were the first three we talked about earlier: prophy due, perio due, and overdue. Continuing care not attached is anybody that we failed to click yes, attach continuing care when we made their appointment. Or maybe it was someone that came in for a limited and didn't have any Recare done, that they didn't have a prophy, they didn't have an exam, nothing was done, so they didn't get attached automatically to Recare. So this is more of a technical list that is going to attach them so that we can make sure they're on one of those three lists we call from. It does give you directions, and this list specifically comes from Business Tools. So I'm going to show you an example. Maybe you've seen this one in your offices. So this is an example of what that continuing care list shows with no continuing care. It's going to give you the chart number so that you can physically go back to that chart, attach what is the correct continuing care. Going back to the example of that patient that came in for a limited and we did not attach them to any type of continuing care, you can attach them to prophy and reset the date for maybe a month out so that they will get a card. If you don't change the date and you attach the original continuing care, it will set it for 6 months. So we don't want to wait 6 months to see that limited patient. We'd love to get them back sooner. I will tell you, we would not want to attach them to perio, knowing that that's only 3 months out, because we don't want to attach them to a disease that we don't know they have. So that's just a clarification. So anybody that comes in for a limited might show up on this list if we did not get them set up for their comp exam or any type of Recare. Go ahead and set them to prophy, and then you can just change the date for 1 month out. But again, purpose of this report, just make sure everybody's attached. The second step from the Recare checklist is the NCOA report. This one also comes from Business Tools. It gives you the directions on how to get there. And this is just anybody that's moved since the last time we sent Recare cards. It is going to give us their new mailing address. So NCOA stands for National Change of Address. And so if they've changed it, the UPS has it, they will send it to us. So that next card that goes out goes to their new address, their old address. And that's a simple report, so I don't have any screenshots on that. The next report is the unscheduled list. So the unscheduled list is something that sometimes it can get out of hand, where we have patient after patient listed on there that broke their appointment, canceled their appointment, maybe even no-showed, and we got to do something with that report. So with the checklist, it is asking that we clean up the unscheduled list by the 27th so that our Recare cards would be accurate. This here is going to give you directions on how to do that. You have to do 2 steps. So first, you're going to want to print your unscheduled list, and you're going to go to the office manager to print it, and you're going to go back as far as that list is created right now. So some of you might only have 2 months worth of patients on your unscheduled list. You're going to make sure that there's only 30 days. And if you can even clean that up to maybe only the last 2 weeks, that would be great. If it goes farther back, if you've not cleaned up your unscheduled list in a while, if it goes back a year, that's okay. Today's Amnesty Day, we can get that cleaned up. What you would do is you would print your list, and then once you've printed your list, you would give that to a set of team members to work. Once they call that patient, just have them cross them off the list, have them add the phone conversation code to their account, and then that has been cleaned up. That goes away. Then we have to go into the actual unscheduled list, and we have to purge the appointments. So this will remove them from the unscheduled list completely, but we have the printed list to go off of to make calls from. This is what we're going to do every month. We're always going to purge our unscheduled list every month before the 27th to have that minimal number of patients listed there. And again, that's for accuracy of our patients getting Recare cards. If they show up on an unscheduled list, sometimes still looks like they have an appointment, so then they don't get a card, or they can get multiple cards, an overdue card and an appointment card. So we don't want to confuse them that way. So simple steps. I also did pull this information from the Recare module. So that's our unscheduled list. Print and purge, those are the two pieces we need to do. It does give some directions, but again, you have this PowerPoint. It's been shared with you. You can share it with your teams to have a more visual of how to do that. And I would highly request that each PMO go into your office and find out how many patients do you have on your unscheduled list, and let them know, okay, today's amnesty day, let's get that printed, let's purge it today. I know we do have quite a few BAs that would be very attached to having those appointments listed on there, and they didn't want to purge them. I'm going to call them. I'm going to get them back on the schedule, but we have to get them off of there. So just helping them through that process will help this. The last step is going to be this, what we've talked about is our it says 2 reports that we're going to use for the call list. And what they're talking about is any perio or prophy without an appointment. So prophy due, perio due without an appointment. Or our third report is our overdue list. So this is what we've already went over, and it's just touching base from the checklist. When you get this checklist each month, it's going to tell you, you can run it in a temporary view, and then it's going to tell you the date range or the parameters to put in there. So again, if you set up with best practice, you go ahead and set up your continuing care views with the directions we send following this call. All you have to do is click the button and they print those parameters already. It'll go back for your overdue, it'll go all the way back to February. For your current, it'll go out the next 30 days. And share that. So going through the steps of Recare, you guys, we know that you know the 6 steps of Recare. Taking in what we have to do to clean up our reports and looking at that Recare checklist, what are some big takeaways that you guys have learned just with that information we have shared?
What I liked is having the United States Postal Service report, because it was interesting. Within the last couple of weeks, we have a huge stack of letters that had come back, and it's like when they printed that label, like half of it is missing, and we can't read it. And we were like, well, let's, what do we do with this? And so this is going to be great to take back, to be like, let's print this report, and then we can get all those updated addresses.
Wonderful.
I really liked working the open treatment report on the 2-day calls. Like, that would be huge. I didn't even think about working that far in advance versus waiting for them the day that they come in. So that's big for me.
Great opportunity. Do you guys feel that your reports are being worked 100% for your continuing care that are due in the next month or that have been overdue the last 3 months?
I really do, Tara, and I say that only because we have a hygienist that actually does a checklist, just distributes the calls, and they have to turn them back in. and we've kind of incentivized it a little bit, making your calls, who does the most calls, who schedules the most patients. So I really do. I'm gonna say maybe 90% of the time, as of right now.
And I think a part of that is because someone is in control of it. Someone is responsible for that. And again, putting Recare back out there, I can tell you as a business team member, when I first started, for my first year, when someone would say Recare to me, I didn't know what they were talking about. Like, what is Recare? Like, I don't know. And then a lot of them can say what the 6 steps are, but it's taking it to the next step. Where do we need them to take action? And that's making the appointment before they leave the office, really good confirmation policy, and then these calls from step 5 and 6. So patients due and patients overdue. So we really need to hit hard on that, and we have a great opportunity with the open treatment report. So those are some of the pieces, and your RMOs who are here on the call today, they're going to be in your offices, and they're going to be trusting but verifying. And hey, where are those lists? How much have we got done? So it's important to make sure that we refresh our teams on what the expectation is too. What other feedback? We have 38 people on the call. I know there's some other great feedback you're going to take back to your teams.
So this is Kate. I don't know if, like, I have been living in a hole this entire time I've been with Heartland, but I was not aware that the 2-day calls were for people that, like, just don't, or, you know, like, that you, if they have devices, you know, I thought you just called everybody. So, yeah.
And I don't think it's just you, Kate. I think there's always clarification on the confirmation policy. I promise you that. So the goal is that they're confirmed before they come in. You know what I mean? And not just leaving them confirmed. So, and then we have other offices that'll go the extreme, and they make every 2-week call no matter what. They make they'll call 2 days, they'll call 1 day. Sometimes even if they're confirmed. So there has to be a healthy balance, and starting with the policy, if we're not doing that, is a great way to get realigned.
I think this is just
I definitely was the same as Kate. I was we're just calling everyone at 2 days if they weren't confirmed. But my biggest takeaway probably is just going back to the office and kind of think through better how to action plan as kind of a team, the 2-week calls versus just having hygiene do it. So, and that'll have a big impact on the results.
Awesome. Love that.
I think it's a great reminder, and the PowerPoint is really nice. So I was thinking I'd print it out and use it with my BAs and go through it with them.
Absolutely. And that is what is the next step. So I wrote that down of, what do we need to do next? And going back to the PowerPoint has a couple examples that you can share with your team of not only what do the Recare cards look like, so maybe your team members don't receive Recare cards, and so they've never knew what it looks like for someone to receive one. And it gives the nice verbiage of if they're due but they don't have an appointment, they're overdue but does not have an appointment, and then an actual appointment card with the date and time. So it's nice to show them from that. And then the next screenshot is resources. Everybody has a different way of learning, and we have so many resources with Heartland. On here, it has a printed call script. What does our 2-week call sound like? And it gives you 3 different examples, so you can print that from homeroom. It goes over a 6-step Recare system. A lot of what we just talked about, some more detail, some why, that's in our learning paths, but again, maybe just do it as a team. There's advice from your hygiene peers that incorporates Recare. Our newest module is called Recare, We Care for Recare. So PMOs, if your hygienist went to a hygiene dinner, this was a mandatory module for them to watch. So just a plug on that. I'll be pulling some reports here not too long to see how many of our hygienists had the opportunity to watch that, and then who we need to follow up with. But this focuses on our dental assistants and our hygienists. And it also focuses on just two pieces. Again, kind of like we talked about today, where is our biggest impact, and how can we do that? And then solution reach. For our offices that say, oh, I don't know how to use it, like I don't even know my login anymore. Training videos are right here. If you need someone to get you re-inspired about solution reach, I absolutely love it. I can walk you through some tips and tricks. I just logged into someone's, was it 2 days ago? And I saw they had a couple messages sitting there. So I think even the teams that don't use it, they don't know that people can respond back to it, and it goes there. So it's just great to open up and see more about that. So tell me and I forget, teach me, I may remember, but involve me and I learn. And that's what we need to do. The next step is taking this to our teams, taking it, sharing our best practices, doing some setup in Dentrix, and even for the PMOs, if you've not printed our reports, making sure they're printing the right parameters. So what is it set up like in Dentrix? Is it only pulling 30 days overdue? Or is it pulling the last 90? So for you guys, just to put your hands on it, see where we're at, make sure it's accurate. Have that team meeting if you can involve everybody and share expectations. You have this PowerPoint to share and this video for other PMOs. So for the RMOs, if you have a PMO that wasn't able to make it here today, we will share this recorded video with you and just make sure that they watch that. And then one of the best practices, I get excited about it, is having a call binder. So if you don't already have one of these in your practice, please, please, please put one together. Have somebody in charge of it and have it in one spot at the front desk. Where can everybody go to pull their call list? And then what is the expectation? Not that you just keep adding call lists every month. You can't just keep adding the list and then you have this binder full of paper you pick up and all the papers fall out and you don't know what's new now. It's you work those lists and then they go either in a folder that they've been completed so the PMO can check on that, and you only hold them for 3 months. Okay, so really just making sure that that stays up to date and that we're working our lists 100% of the time. Are you guys on board? Do you guys have actions? I see thumbs ups. Yeah, we're rooting on.
Yeah.
Okay, so do me a favor, use the chat function. For those that are on voice, we might take a couple shout outs in a second, but I want you just to digest everything that you heard. We are setting this expectation that we are re-rolling this out. How can we make a difference? Because it's only going to help you in your Q2 incentive anyways, but making sure that everybody we work with knows their expectation with Recare. So go ahead, use the chat, and I want you to write your one action, what's just one takeaway or one action you're taking from this call before you leave today. And then in a minute, once you gather your thoughts, those that are on phone only that don't have the chat function, if you're not on Blue Jeans, I will love to hear from you. So who's out there on phone only that doesn't have a chat function?
This is Lisa and, oh, go ahead.
No, go for it, Lisa.
I just wanted to say it's always great to have a refresher. I've been with the company long enough that I know the 6 steps of Recare, but I also have newer business assistants. So this will just be something that I'll bring forward to them on our next one-on-one just to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. But just reminding myself too about the NCOA report, because we still do get in the mail the yellow sticker, returned mail, and making sure that we're looking at that, because I think that is something that we're missing here. So just making sure that everybody in the office is aware of this system is also something that I'll do from the front end to the back end.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that's it. Like this, Recare's been around forever. I'll out myself and the CAs. We started talking about this and what we're going to talk to you guys about today. And they started talking about the reports they print. And I started talking about the reports I print. And we were completely talking about two different things. And they're like, well, show me what you're doing. And I'm like, show me what you're doing. I'm like, and it just goes back to, you have to have those refreshers. So letting your team know that as well. This is Amnesty Day. If you didn't know it, that's okay. You know it now, and we're going to work towards achieving our 100% goal on these calls. So I know you guys will make a great impact. We have exceptional team members in this region. So I know Jack would say amazing things, and just make sure that you're holding your expectations high and that we are keeping our teams accountable for this. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today. Please reach out to your client administrators, myself, or your RMOs if you have questions. We're happy to answer them. But I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for all your hard
Sarah.
Bye, you guys.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yes, Sarah, a great call.
Thanks, Angela.
Is everybody gone? Okay, guys, you know what? When I was on the phone, that was Jack dialing in or calling me. He was unable to get on because his PIN number was incorrect.